Yes, we're live. Lee, you can go ahead.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this amazing panel session. So, we'll be talking about liberalizing international trade, blockchain, and cryptocurrency. So, we have amazing speakers, people that are doing amazing well in this space, in the crypto and blockchain space, will be joining us to talk about this interesting topic. So, joining us is Eloisa Machasoni. Eloisa Machasoni is co-founder and CEO Blockchain. Eloisa, you're welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me here.
Yeah, you're welcome. Nice to have you. So also joining us is Daniel Marinelli. He is founder DT Coin.
Hello,
Daniel, you're welcome.
Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you.
You're welcome. So also joining us is Mark Swiko. Mark Swiko is managing member Globalis Capital Solutions. Mark, you're welcome.
Hi. Thanks for having me. Nice to meet everybody.
Thank you. You're welcome. Also with us is Lucky Owakwe. Lucky Owakwe is founder Sabi Group. Lucky, you're welcome.
Hi, thank you, everybody.
It's our pleasure to have you all. You're welcome. So we are going to be talking about liberalizing international trade, blockchain and cryptocurrency. We see what is going on. We are in the 21st century, and the way things are being done when it comes to international trade is changing amazingly with the emergence of blockchain and cryptocurrency. So today we'll be talking about how these technologies helping and facilitating international trade. So we move straight to some of the questions we have for our panelists. So what we are looking at is what are the problems faced in the current trade system with fiat money and existing supply chain management system in blockchain promises to offer new solutions in blockchain. So what are some of the things? Let me start with you, Lucky Owakwe. What's your take on that? I can't hear you. Lucky, I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Okay, I probably
see if you can off your camera to see if your network will be better. I don't hear you. Come again. Did anyone hear him? What is he saying? Okay, while we wait for him, while we wait for Lucky, maybe let me start with you, Daniel. What's your take on the question?
Oh, thank you. So I think that, of course, cryptocurrencies will be a real potential opportunity to change the vision that people have in finance world, in bank system, and in fiat money. Now I think that we are too used at fiat money, and we are difficult to understand what are cryptocurrencies. And the real problem is to teach to all the world what is the real meaning of cryptocurrencies and decentralized finance. And in the bank system, the blockchain, sorry, I think that blockchain can solve a lot of problems where in all part we need to certify without people that can intervene to modify, delete or come si dice, modificare a data and where it's necessary to have a certain data inside a system. What I mean, now we need to have trust in someone else, in the world that we are used to see. With blockchain, we don't need to trust in someone else, but we need to trust just in blockchain technology. I think that this is the mindset we have to teach to all the people in all the world.
Interesting. Lucky, let me get back to you, Lucky. What are the problems faced in the current trade system, and how do you think blockchain can solve some of those problems?
Okay, thank you again, Uche. The current problem faced by the trade system we have on a global scale have always been this barrier between people thinking that business needs to be conducted according to borders of international boundaries, which have not really helped business on a global scale. People believe that once business crosses a particular boundary line of a country, then things have to change. I don't believe that's how business should be run right now on a global scale, irrespective of the infrastructure, irrespective of whatever payment system you have in place. We believe the world has gone global, and therefore business or international trade should be borderless. We have had instances where one current unavailability of dollars in a local country, it has impacted just because maybe one government with the power of what blockchain with limits to infrastructure, people can still do whether there is a boundary limit, whether there is timeline. I don't believe business should be like life. Business should be like air, and it should be continuous, non-stop, in my own view. So I believe, irrespective of the time zone, irrespective of the holidays, or whatever situation that is going on in any country, everyone should be able to conduct and do business without having issues or limits. And that's what blockchain has come to do. Actually, with the aid of blockchain, we know that there is no time to when you can receive money, when you can send out money, when you can keep record of anything, when you can be able to approve or check the availability of a particular thing. That's what blockchain has come to do. And I think some of those key points around borders, government sanctions, boundary limits, timeline, national holidays, these are the things that have impacted businesses on a global scale, and limitations to liquidity. These have impacted businesses on a global scale. But with the aid of blockchain right now, I think we're open up virtually every borders to make business transparent and open for everybody as much as possible. This is my take, and blockchain has come to solve a lot of that, irrespective of your business. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Eloisa, let me get to you, Eloisa. You've seen what Lucky, the point he has raised concerning this particular occasion. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for having me here and for valuing my point of view enough to be in this panel discussion. I would like to keep it centered on international trade, especially, and how much blockchain can help. I've seen a lot of pilot projects on these sort of applications, but I found that the major limits are posed by authorities and governments. Because as Lucky was saying, there's always this tendency to keep to control the global market by using boundaries as limitations, which we want to surpass with blockchain. Blockchain is especially useful in all points of supply chains, of trade that are a lot paper intensive, and where there is the danger of, for example, double spending, and just in general, some informational issues due to the fact that there needs to be, at least for now, human intervention, which blockchain can somehow eliminate, in order for us to operate in an ecosystem where we don't need to trust each other, but we just need to trust the technology. Especially looking at trade finance, which is where blockchain, with its applications in cryptocurrencies, can eliminate the problems of exchange rates, of slow money movement, also of payment security, which is a huge issue, taxes and fees, which can be lowered. And lastly, I would say that recording each transaction on a blockchain, when it comes to payment, would give us a shared view on all trades made along the supply chains and among the nations. Finally, I can say, especially looking at what happened with the pandemics, we can have sort of an international trade that is contactless, where we can actually support all the preventive measures that the WHO has imposed. And also we can track exactly what is contaminant coming from another country, for example.
Okay, interesting. Nice one from you, Eloisa. You are Mark. You are managing member of Globalist Capital Solution. What are the problems faced currently by this sector, and how can blockchain play a role?
Yeah, I am from the United States, but I live in Asia actually, and I've had about 8 years of experience at the government level, dealing with what we have like PPP programs and big corporate government relationships, and seeing a lot of cronyism and elitism. And I think blockchain, with respect to the supply chain on an international level, in theory, if it's applied appropriately, really it should level the playing field. It should give the power back to the people, and sort of remove some of the barriers that are in place because of big government hands, cultural tendencies to cronyism and elitism. And I think that, to me, from what I see, I think, along with what all the other speakers have said, I think is the main thrust of problem solving that blockchain can help in. And of course, obviously, reducing costs and efficiency. These are the two main quick answers, right, to blockchain. Bringing down costs, taking out third-party middlemen, and allowing transactions to get as quickly processed as possible. And I think its impact, particularly in emerging markets, is tremendous. I've seen it already, even on very small scales. Of course, its application across areas like gaming and some of the other areas is well known. But I think what you'll see in terms of banking and cross-border transactions, returning power back to the people, migrant worker payment solutions, I think this is a real thrust going forward. But there is still a big distance between its theoretical use and its application in the real world, and being able to, break down some of the government and international laws and rules that have, sort of plagued the industries and supply chains for a long time.
Interesting. Interesting. Let me still start with you, Mark, with the second question for this discussion. So, cryptocurrencies, in essence, dilute the power of the country's central bank. So, do you think blockchain-based cryptocurrency will be able to replace them? What will be the challenges in this aspect?
Well, that's the theory, right? This utopian sort of this power to send in and receive money with each other and sort of take out the banks. It all sounds very good, and it's been written about and talked about, and it's probably the subject matter of a lot of what's going on in the world right now, this power struggle to keep the old way of doing business banking system in place. And I think it's a stranglehold on growth, growth at the human level, and also at the corporate level. But it is a challenge. I do not think, as I sit here today, I don't see a path right now where the central bank disappears and we live in this beautiful world where we have these multiple coins and we can all send each other money. It is an ideology. It's a pure paradigm shift that I think is way off. But you don't have to get there necessarily where there's this complete dilution from the central bank. You start to see now the central banks actually participating in tokens and digital money. So I think at the end of the day, it all sounds very good, but in its application, in its realistic, pragmatic application, I think it's a hard thing to achieve. But somewhere in the middle is where I think we'll wind up, where we're using fiat to some degree, but maybe peer-to-peer transactions between human beings like you and me, individuals. You see a lot of that actually in place now, people transferring money to each other. So I think we can get there, but I think it's a long road.
Interesting. We'll get there, but it's a long road. Lucky, what's your take on that?
Okay, the notion in quotes for people to think that blockchain-based cryptocurrencies or digital currencies will replace that of the central bank, for me, I might not be too quick to say yes at this point in time. However, there is this thing around alternative. I would rather use the word alternative than to say total replacement, right? Right now, one of the functions of what the blockchain has come to do tends to align with what the central bank of most countries are currently doing, which is around issuance of currencies, stabilizing, doing some stability to the economy and all of that. These are some mechanisms that have been put in place in terms of within the blockchain ecosystem to balance the values of what the token will be on a long-term scale. I don't think the blockchain-based digital currencies will replace or totally replace that of what the central bank will do, but I'd rather say to complement it in the sense that it provides a better alternative, which means if the central bank don't do the right thing or they don't have better incentives to attract people to come, people will not want to use it because there's a better alternative out there. And I think on a global scale right now, people are now flocking or trunking towards that better alternative, which is crypto-based or blockchain-based, as the case may be. And that's, for me, it's my own take at this point. However, catch up with the private guys. So we are seeing trends like in DeFi. I like a couple of days back or 2 days around saying DeFi is just 2 steps away from central. Are you sure that's possible? I think we're moving closer and closer to where some of those powers that have been totally in the hands of the central bank will have to give up some. Like you have to share it back with the community, with the entire.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let me get to you, Eloisa. Eloisa, what's the take on that particular issue?
I think that cryptocurrencies will that crypto will not just very simply replace fiat. I think, though, that the central banks will be forced to take crypto into consideration, and that they can't just keep on ignoring that reality. I know it seems like a very separate world to most of the masses, and that a lot of the politicians want to keep that separate. But there will come a time where the mass adoption will go much faster than the political action of those parties, and they will be forced to do something like what MasterCard, for example, has done during this last couple of days, launching a platform that is available out there, especially for the cryptocurrencies that central banks can now launch very easily and test on there. And then also, I don't know if you've seen this new Netflix documentary has come out. It's called The Social Dilemma, and I see that the masses are being made aware of the fact that there's a lot of the tech giants, and also a lot of the central authorities that are looking at their transactions, as well as stealing their data, including whatever they do with fiat, of course, if they use credit cards, for example. And, as these documentaries will keep coming out, as panel discussions like ours will keep being broadcasted, people are going to want that more. And central banks will not want to lose their stake in the global economy, and I'm sure they will adapt. What we need to hope is that the regulators keep on working on understanding what crypto is and how to integrate that into the national and international frameworks.
Thank you very much, Eloisa, for that. Let me move to you, Daniel. Daniel, what's your take about that?
Listen, my friend, in my opinion, I think that the right question is not if the blockchain technology will replace the bank system, but the right question is when. I tell you why. Because under our eyes, it's already happening. It's already replacing the bank system. Look, for example, the biggest bank in all the world, JP Morgan in Italy too. If they are already adopting blockchain system inside their system. The real problem, and I agree with my friend Eloisa, is not the bank system and if the blockchain technology can replace it, but what are looking for the government, because I see in this world, USA is one thing, Europe is another thing, Asia, Africa is different thing, because the real problem is how the government can connect dinosaurs man to innovation technology. So if we don't work to force the government to adopt the idea that blockchain technology is better than the traditional bank central system, of course, we are waiting for this. But I'm very, very sure that in the next future, thanks to look what happened in the last month. During lockdown, a lot of people was connecting to internet and was discovering blockchain, cryptocurrencies, and all else. So now is the real time that we have to follow, to force the government to accept the blockchain technologies adoption by the bank system. And I think that in the next future it will be.
Interesting. Thank you very much, Daniel, for that. That takes us to the next question for this discussion. So we know that CBDC, that central bank digital currencies, are very great innovations and we see some countries experimenting CBDC. We see the likes of China, their central bank talking about CBDC. We see the likes of America, their central bank is still talking about CBDC. So the question now we are looking at, what is your opinion about these government-backed cryptocurrencies? Do you think they have a potential to overshadow all the cryptocurrencies in the future? Loisa, let me start with you.
Yeah, so I probably already partially answered to this question before. Yes, I do think they have the potential to work, but we need to be very careful on that, because because Bitcoin, for example, itself stemmed from the will of the masses to stop being controlled by the central authorities, or probably it was just Satoshi Nakamoto's way to prove to the tech community that he was somewhat better. But I do believe that there is a bit of crypto anarchy will behind that project. Supporting 100% blindly this sort of cryptocurrencies issued by central banks puts us in the same position as we were before. I think they have the potential to work, but we need to work on the regulation and work on the education of the masses in order for them to prevent the same situation from being caused all over again.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Let me go back to you, Lucky. Lucky, are you seeing what nations, their central banks are doing, experimenting on the CBDC, central bank digital currencies? Do you think it will overshadow all these other cryptocurrencies, like Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies?
Absolutely not. My answer is capital no. And my reason is this. Human beings all over control of their personal wealth, control their personal assets. Central bank digital currency does not give calmness of mind, of this peace of mind, that their assets will never be taken away from them. As much as it makes business very seamless, as much as it makes business the notion that what if I want to move my money out of, let's say, from a country A to, and maybe country A is not in good time with country B, will the central bank digital currency, which is like moving the fiat-based system into people Now, the beautiful things about this privately issued digital currencies like Bitcoin and the rest is that you can store them in a much more decentralized exchange, like we're seeing trends in DeFi right now. You can be able to do whatever you want to do with it, even without even storing them on exchanges that are the primary place people normally store most of their cryptocurrency as of today. So I don't believe, and I don't think that central bank digital currency at any point in time in the future will ever replace the current cryptocurrencies that are currently available. And my reason is just simply because of the fact of concerns for control, concerns that people want freedom, concerns that people want to do what they want to do with their money at certain points in time. However, I'm not an advocate for people to do use their money for wrong things or things that will negatively impact their society. But I'm going to say People are also concerned that they don't want to face the same thing that they faced in 1920 during the first recession, where people's gold were forced out of their hands in exchange for either giving them back to the authorities. Now, when central bank digital currency come, it means all payment systems will solely depend on the nodes that we control, most likely by the central bank. And if the central bank decides to say, hey, you so and so wallet owner cannot send out or receive out, so be it. And people definitely will not want to put themselves in that position. And hence my reasons for saying that I don't think central bank digital currencies will replace them. In fact, my company have been looking into the Chinese-based version of it. There's something called DCEC, which is digital currency electronic payments, which is like a version of the central bank digital currency-based system from the Chinese authorities, where people can send digital yuan, as the case may be. Though I've seen that it had made business quite a little bit easy, but people might still be concerned about, will they have this thing where government seizures will come up at any point in time? These are concerns for people, obviously, and I think there'll be a balance between the central bank and the privately owned digital currency as of today. People might just want to probably put a couple of their resources into central bank-based digital currency and a couple of other their resources into privately controlled digital currency, just in case there are issues like clamp down or people not being in good terms with the authority. That's my own take, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Daniel, you've seen his take, you've seen Lucky's take on this topic. On this particular question. What's your take on that?
Listen, I think that any government, of course, need to know exactly how many money have people, citizens in their wallet. This is the real problem. So what I see that there are some countries, in China, of course, that are looking for a stable coin to use in their country. But I think that we are losing the real opportunity of blockchain, because we are losing the opportunity to have one coin for one one word. What I mean, now we have fiat money, okay? We are translating fiat money in a blockchain system. So the risk, in my opinion, may be that China have a coin, USA have another coin, Africa another, Africa. What is the difference? I think that the real problem, in my opinion, is not to understand if China is in the right way not a cryptocurrency. But in my opinion, is how can we try to convince them that it's important to have one coin for one word. And thanks to blockchain system, we can do it. Of course, we have another problem. I told at the beginning, imagine to be the president of USA. Of course, for you it's important to understand how many money have your people in the wallet, because based on that you can decide the taxes, services, prices. So I think that they have this needing, but they can do the same in a way that are not looking for total anonymous, private and decentralized system. Of course, in a system, in a blockchain, under a form of control just for the value in a country, but shared with all countries in the world. It's better for me. Otherwise, we have the same situation of fiat money.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Mark, what's your take on this question?
Well, all the speakers, I think, really highlight some of the excellent points, and they all kind of go together. But I think being the last person to answer the question, I would just sum up, there's a theme that you hear from all the speakers, and it really is, it's really kind of funny from where I sit. It's not going to overshadow. Actually, it's going to do the opposite. I think it actually highlights exactly what cryptocurrency is about. These central banks and governments are really going to the well, kicking and screaming. That's what this is. This is like a last-ditch attempt to pacify what is really going on and sort of pretend, really, frankly, that they're participating in what is going on, when in fact it's just a sort of a placebo or a replacement drug for what they've already got going on out there with fiat. So I think the theme from all of the speakers really kind of resonates with me. They really touch on a lot of the proper answers to this, but I don't think it overshadows. I think, in fact, it actually highlights and brings to light the exact nature of cryptocurrency and what blockchain can serve.
Thank you very much, Mark. In case you are just joining us, this is a panel discussion and it's being powered by Elmit. And we have amazing people, experts in the crypto and blockchain space, who have joined us to talk about this interesting topic. So we have Loisa Makesoni, we have Daniel Marinelli, and we have Mark Swico, and we also have Lucky Wakwe. I'm the moderator, Lee Uchomawahiri. So moving forward on this panel discussion, let me remind us, in case for our audience, in case you have any questions, you can drop them at our question. Just check the questions tab. You can drop your questions there. Will be our panelists will help us to answer them. So let's move straight to the topic. I have another question here. I'll start with you, Mark. What are the current challenges faced in scaling of blockchain projects, for example, in terms of regulatory framework and interoperability? What can be done to induce mass adoption of blockchain? This one is like more of 2-in-1 question. What's your take? Let me start, Mark. You're mute. You're mute.
Sorry about that. So I act as an advisor to a lot of companies in the blockchain space behind the scenes, mostly on capital formation and raising money. And for me, where I sit, I think the biggest hurdle, deliberately so, is the implementation of a sort of, Danielle talked about one coin, one world. Well, I would talk about, sort of one regulatory scheme, where you have this sort of universal approach to how do you deal with this technology? How do you deal with fiat? How do you deal with cryptocurrency? Is it a security? Is it a commodity? Is it a money? It's just a big mess out there. So I have personally actually rejected a lot of projects because they want to run right into the market and do an STO or an IPO. And it's a minefield out there. The regulatory scheme is not even close. You would think, for example, I'll pick on the United States as an American. You would think, as advanced as they are and how forward-thinking and technologically sophisticated, they leading the world all the time. You would think that they would be able to come up with the right regulatory scheme. And I think, they're way behind. And some other countries that you would think would be behind. So I think really for me, in terms of the question, the real struggle, I think, is a universal regulatory scheme, or even just the beginnings of some commonality in these countries. You can just, I'm in Asia. It's a mess here. It's an absolute mess in terms of guiding people on what to do. You can go to Singapore, you could go to Japan, you could go to South Korea, Thailand, and Myanmar. It's so different from place to place, and I think it's very difficult for companies to launch tokens and to really comply. I think it's really something that needs to be worked on. That would be the primary area that I would be focusing on in the immediate future.
Thank you very much. Daniel, what's your take on this question?
But listen, I think that, of course, the regulatory is important, and I hope to see for a regulation shared in some part of the world, as I talking before. But about the massive adoption, really, I'm looking for what's happening now, and I'm thinking at what happened already in the past. I think that to see the future, we need to see the past. What I mean, when internet started, mail started, etc., a lot of people was not understanding the potential of the technology, and was looking for paper and not for using the mail. Now, before to talk about regulatory, about adoption, we have to train and inform the more people we can about the right use of this technology, because I see that people are looking for cryptocurrency for speculation, for joking, for a lot of things that are not the right use of this technology. So I think that really we are just doing the first step, and we already are in the beginning of the future. Before, we must to inform people what is this technology, how they can use, what is the opportunity, and why. First of all, this is what I think. After that, we can talk about regulatory. I see that Mark is smiling. I don't understand if Mark is smiling because agree with me or not.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I think adoption and education are key. Everybody uses these words, but if you go into the street, even again picking on the United States, a lot of people don't know how to use cryptocurrency. They don't even know how to buy it. They don't even know how to store it on a wallet. They know the terminology, but yeah, you're right. Education is key, but of course you have to have the from the corporate side, not from the user side, but from the corporate side, to get this out there, the technology out there has to be some regulatory scheme out there that allows for the adoption. But you're right. If people don't know what they're using, how can they go forward with it?
But listen, Mark, tell me the truth. You agree with me because we have the same age. The problem is that we have all the other are youngs. So yes, we already lived in the past this situation.
I agree. We have to stick together, you and I.
Yes. Let's see who speak together. And Loisa, are you speaking together with them?
Actually, I'm in a different age group, but I do agree with both Daniele and Mark. And I want to add that in order to aid mass adoption, we need to make it our responsibility to not make another bubble like the one that has become a bad stigma for the ICOs happen again. I find that when I speak to even my parents, all they've heard about is blockchain and Bitcoin related to that bubble, and they see it badly. Whereas with education, we would solve the problem of those misconceptions. And we need to find a format for that kind of education to be broadcasted and used in schools, universities, and also aiding the spread of other kinds of platforms. And then also we need to calm down everyone with the right laws in order to make everyone understand that they are somehow protected by a regulator that understands what blockchain and crypto is and the potential applications. And I also hope that when the regulator will come to that, it will consider to draft a regulatory framework that is flexible enough in order for it not to come back to drafting other laws whenever new applications will come out. And we also, and that it will also consider that blockchain is not something that will work alone, but it will be integrated very soon with big data, with AI and all sorts of other technologies, and we cannot be slowed down again, or we cannot assist to other bubbles again, because people have a memory and they do remember what happened.
Thank you, Eloisa. Let me go move over to Lucky. Lucky, you are the founder of Salvi Group, which you facilitate digital currency exchange. So, what's your take on this?
Okay. First, I think it's very clear that on a global scale, regulators need to come to terms that a lot of things have changed. Some of them are still have not realized that a lot of things have changed from the past. Have been now. Mass adoption for blockchain can be enabled. We'll be trying them in basic things. We don't have to do focus blockchain like a lot of them. Be what it is. I think we can try blockchain when we begin to try blockchain on other smaller scale things, which already are actually they are live today. There are so many different use cases, from education, from logistics, from agriculture, healthcare, depending on different kind of solutions. When people begin to see the use case for this technology in other key areas outside money-related things, I think that will help for mass adoption. Another key important thing is, or one of the challenges that people are faced or that have been hindering scaling of mass adoption have been in terms of regulators wanting to use the same rules in the past to measure the new development. I hear a lot of times when you hear things like SEC wanting to measure things, and it always boils back down to the how we test. And I don't think they should give room for people to experiment quite a lot of things, especially on a sandbox system. Very few SEC or regulators out there have been based opportunity to experiment on a small scale. That's why most of these blockchain-based solutions just go out and they release the product or they release their service even without having to wait for regulators. But I think when regulators begin to understand the fact that they're not holding the time steep and to people, and hence it's important that they should give room for experiment of these solutions on, even if it's on a small scale, on a sandbox environment. That will help greatly. And with these, I think that would most likely help mass scale adoption of the blockchain per se. I also want to implore that another challenge that I've been faced by founders on this part of the world is the fact that when one bad news keep coming out from a couple of projects before them, it tends to hinder or limit how quickly people can easily adopt. The news around the ICO bubble, the news around one exit scam happening within blockchain-based community, the news around one particular project just folding up have really hindered quite new or genuine ones out there. However, project closing shop, bubble at that time, but today look at where the internet I expect that to also but regulators would definitely need to come to terms that a lot of things have changed and give people the room for growth. Very few regulatory agencies from different countries are giving that opportunity for people. They still want to use the same old style, the same old how we test to measure virtually everything that comes into the system, which I don't think will work or have been a source of hindrance for most person. But of course, we've seen other regulators in some countries taking much more positive approach into allowing this sector play out much more rapidly. So in a nutshell, what will help blockchain grow? I think applying blockchain to micro or very little things that are out there. even as little as record keeping, even as little as facilitating agricultural-based solution. When people begin to see blockchain being used in this use case, they will not even bother. They won't even realize they're already using it already, because again, at the time when internet became popular, people didn't even realize that they were using internet for some other things outside email. They thought it was just only about email, sending of email to and fro. But when they start applying the internet in all the use cases, we didn't even realize. People don't even need to know what is the technicalities or the infrastructure behind it. They just want to see clear use case, and if they could see clear use case in their local vicinity, they are fine with it. And that's, for me, would help clean or making.
Thank you very much, Lucky. We are talking about blockchain and cryptocurrency liberalizing international trade. So that brings us to another very important question. So it is another aspect, is a challenging aspect when it comes to international trade. So we are talking about international trade. It's quite a lengthy process. We know what it takes for those of us that are in the trade sector. We know what it takes when it comes to international, the paperwork, the intensive processes, the custom clearances, the transportation, logistics, and movement of multiple intermediaries. So what do you think blockchain can do? What's your take on this? Can blockchain practically improve this process? If yes, then to what extent? And if no, then why? Let me start with you, Daniel.
I think that I can answer this question in just a few words. I try to explain you why. To know if blockchain can be the right way to process more fast logistic trades, you have to think just at Amazon. Look, Amazon. Amazon is fast in their logistic. In my opinion, the answer is yes. Okay, they are already adopting blockchain technologies. So I think that, of course, it's better a system where all data is certified and is through some smart contract can under control about logistic terms, etc. Of course, it's better than the past. And of course, maybe more fast than the past. So in the logistic, I'm sure that blockchain can be used with success, and I see that they are already starting to use.
Okay, thank you very much. Eloisa, what can you say about that?
Yep. So, of course, blockchain can help. I think at this point in time, we need to consider whether we can just start with a simple DLT, or if we really want to take it to blockchain. I believe blockchain is crucial because it is related to the cryptocurrency, to its cryptocurrency and fintech applications. But since international trade has so many actors, among which the biggest are central authorities, customs, and so on, it won't be so easy. And I think this is one of the takeaways from this panel discussion. But yeah, I do agree with what Daniele was saying. Ideally, we're gonna, it's gonna be very useful, and I am sure we're gonna get there. And probably we're gonna get there by the time that we will also have actual working smart cities around the world that will use such a model for trade.
Thank you very much. Lucky, you are in Africa, you're in Nigeria, you know how it is. What's your take on this?
Really, if blockchain is applied into international business, it will greatly reduce quite a lot of things from the by default. And I think the time spent in terms of people seeing the available piece of information, which the Nigerian customer to between per se. Now, imagine where the payment infrastructure, just like you have the likes of the Bitcoin and all of those kind of things integrated as a payment, have to wait till a working day or a working day, which is not a public holiday. I think one good thing that a blockchain has come to do is such that with its adoption or with its use case, there's no time for holiday. Every time is a working time. Every time is already a good time for people to know. And we can easily spot who is holding what at each chain or point in time in the entire transactions. If I know that Mr. A have released payments or have released goods, and the goods is currently being shipped with the aid of Maersk, and I already know that Maersk is already exploring the use of a blockchain for their supply chain or logistics business at this point in time, we can easily track and see virtually everything they are doing. We can easily spot who is stopping business or who's hindering business. No more the era where businesses are now being run and you don't even know what is happening to your goods. Where's my goods? At what point in time is it? I believe with the adoption of blockchain in this mix, quite a lot of these things will be reduced, inclusive in terms of payment. Payment is quite key in any international trade or in any logistics-based business, where people probably will not want to release their goods unless they are sure that their payments has been confirmed or been received. But with the aid of blockchain, smart contract-based, I know there are a couple of solutions out there now that even two people who are already in the business can easily be able to lock in funds in a particular smart contract, and the contract will only release the funds to the seller of the goods only after the buyer of the goods have received goods. And there are mechanisms in place with the aid of IoTs and sensors to check that these goods have actually left the shores or have gotten to the particular location where it's meant to be. And if those terms or those conditions have been met, funds will be released. This way, a lot of those bottlenecks that are associated with the current supply chain business will be reduced. Again, there are quite a lot of losses people have incurred as a result of the current supply chain business for international trade. Losses that can be reduced or greatly reduced to a very large extent with the aid of blockchain. And I think Maersk, Lloyd and Maersk, which is one of the leading shipping or supply chain business right now in the world, with the adoptions or use of blockchain, would help cut down some of these losses. We've heard cases, or we know of cases where people have sent out their goods, perishable goods in this case, and a lot of them get perished in the port because of the fact that either some port authorities are on strike, or some people not knowing or even realizing that their goods have arrived at this point in time. But with the aid of blockchain, we can easily track. Nobody would cheat the other person. And if there are anybody who is cheating the system, we can easily spot that and penalize the individual in this case, inclusive of even the authorities it might take. So I think greatly it will help reduce a lot of things. There's nothing as good as bringing the entire chain of business, the entire ecosystem of international trade on a simple, where both the buyers, sellers, and every other player as a participant can all meet up with themselves. And I think that's what blockchain have greatly made.
Thank you, Lucky. Mark, you've seen what other panelists have said. What's your contribution?
Well, once again, in the last spot here, I don't need to reiterate. A lot of the answers focus on payment solutions because that's what we're used to using, and the speed of it and the efficiency of it. I actually think when it comes to supply chains that if you look in the luxury arena, like say take for example diamonds, if you will, I think I think you have a lot of what they call blockchain technology support already in play. And I think it's incredible, actually, because you have the use of it with authentication of, let's say, the diamond business, right? Authenticating a diamond, certifying a diamond, and then a particular diamond, transaction going off where it's immutable. And I think it also cuts down on some of the terrible abuses that you've seen over decades in different parts of the world where these commodities are used for ill will. And human beings are, used in trafficking and things of this nature. And a lot of what's going on with the blockchain is cutting that back. So again, for me, I think it's really a really good focus on authentication and certification, the use of it, as a support tool. For expediting the transportation and logistics of any item, whether it's a goose or a diamond. I think that's its main focus.
Thank you, Mark. We have a lot of questions coming in. We'll soon be taking questions from the audience who took our time to join us today. So let me come to you, Elisa. Lisa, you work with all kinds of blockchain-based projects in your consulting firm, Blockchain. So can you tell us about some of the most interesting and exciting projects you have worked on recently?
Yeah, for sure. So, my company is pretty famous in the space, and I don't want to mention any names. I just want to focus on the main idea of these projects. And I want to say that even if it seems unreal, the biggest projects that we have in our portfolio are ones that use business models that have been out there for quite a long time, even before the fintech actually became big. Because the aim of these projects is to aid the mass adoption of crypto and to use crypto and tokens to incentivize certain behaviors among masses, and in order to reward people for becoming educated on these topics. And that's why these projects are so powerful, because what they do is they finally are leveraging the technology and aiding and working on building huge communities that will then prompt the central authorities and governments to adopt these kinds of technologies. I was actually having a chat with the other speakers in the backstage, and we were speaking about this new buzzword, which is DeFi. And I really hope it's not just a new buzzword. My company is going to have very soon to choose among the different DeFi projects that have been contacting us. But it's a very hard choice. I've seen some great ones out there because it feels like, especially after the quarantine, the biggest influencers in the fintech space have decided to use their accrued capital to set up these new decentralized finance ecosystems. And us as consultants, active consultants, we don't want to be, we don't want our choice in supporting one project become sort of like a political choice where you're supporting one influencer and cutting out the rest of the global market. So, I think for now we'll stick to putting all of our attention to these projects that are building community, that are using what is the most powerful tool, which is the word of mouth, to actually make the masses understand new technologies.
Thank you very much, Elisa. I've seen what you're also doing, what the role you're playing in the ecosystem. Lucky, let me get to you, Lucky. Your organization, Sadi Group, has been working towards widespread adoption of the fourth industrial revolution technology in Africa. So, how has your experience been in achieving these goals? What are the challenges you have faced? Hello? Yeah, go ahead, go ahead. Did you get the question?
I've been able to see that Africa has been an interesting place or interesting market when it comes to the adoption. I think one of the beautiful places to implement the use case of this technology itself have been more in Africa for the fact that I know to catch up with this, unlike in other legacy not in place like in other. But for us as a company,
Hello, Lucky. It's like we have lost him. Okay, let me continue. Let's continue pending when he returns. Mark, let me move to you. International remittance is also one of the potential area for development of blockchain. So you know you are managing member Globalist Capital Solutions. So what are some of the things you are doing in this area?
I'm sorry. Could you just repeat that? It broke up. You said international.
Okay, I said international remittance is also one of the potential area of development of blockchain. It's exactly linked to international trade. So I made mention that you are the managing member of Globalist Capital Solutions. So what are you doing in that area to make impact in the ecosystem?
Yeah, through my company, I really do a lot of consulting work, and I love this area. I stumbled onto an amazing project that I think will be launched in November. It's completely funded by just a couple of guys, and really, every year hundreds of billions of dollars are transferred internationally by businesses and individuals who have emigrated from their home countries. Cross-border money transfers are likely to experience double-digit annual growth rates over the next few years. So remittances have reached a record high as early as 2018. And then in August of 2019, the World Bank, interestingly enough, recorded annual remittance flows in middle-income countries at about 500 billion, which is 9.6% increase from the previous high of about 483 billion recorded in 2017. But really, the total global remittance growth, which includes also high-income countries, climbed from about 700 billion up to 700 billion from about 630 billion in 2017. So the World Bank really found that banks were the most expensive remittance model they charging about 11%. And that was recorded, I think, around the first quarter of 2017. Believe it or not, interestingly enough, the second most expensive cost for remittance comes from post offices, and they're collecting about 7%. KPMG also estimated, which is a very famous accounting firm, estimated that the B2B cross-border payments they're about 15.5 trillion as of 2018. So the entire remittance industry is massive. Statistics indicate this obviously enormous size with international payments and the like. So basically, the World Bank has predicted that remittances are on track actually to become the largest source of external financing in developing countries. So much so that they put a plan in place that by 2030, a sustainable development goal to reduce the remittance costs that are at about 7.1% down to 3%, okay? Because they know how much this affects revenue for countries. So until now, remittances to family members back home and B2B international payments have been at a great personal and economic cost, as you see from these numbers. So fees are high because really several players are involved in these payment process system. The source bank, the central bank, as we've talked about, and then of course correspondent banks, and finally the destination bank. So everyone seems to have their hand in the cookie jar. Each bank along the way is charging fees for these services. So transactions, of course, are slow. They can take up to a week in some cases before the money ends up actually literally in the hands of the recipient. So, and of course, another key obstacle that we talk about to the payment of remittances from formal banking channels is that the recipient actually needs to have a bank. And we know that a large number of emerging markets have what we call the unbankable. So it's an unfortunate reality that the vast majority of people receiving money actually don't have a bank account. And even if they do, some of them live in rural areas, and it takes a very long time to get to their nearest branch to actually collect the money. So as a result, many remittances are made using informal channels, which is probably a whole nother topic at another time. But with the advent, of course, of mobile wallets powered by blockchain technology, the international payments can be made, and we can, go into the future on this level and reduce costs. Mobile wallets obviously are installed on your mobile phone and offer a wide range of functionality, including the ability to transfer money internationally. And that's really what we're at here, is to take the unbankable, really, which is a passion of mine, and get them funded and allow money to get back to them from their loved ones that maybe are working overseas in another country. Why are the payments processed using blockchain? Blockchain is obviously very efficient, it's transparent, it's secure, and it is because it's based on what we call the DLT, or distributed ledger technology. So blockchain removes these intermediaries, takes them out of the picture, and allows the direct connection of the sending and receiving of money. Remittance tokens also are an interesting area. They can be also incorporated into transaction flow, and this allows the sender of money to buy remittance tokens. You can move cash completely out of the picture and send and control this money wherever you want. So the entire money transfer process becomes considerably more convenient and less administratively intensive.
Thank you very much, Mark. Before we continue, Lucky, let me get back to you. You are saying something before the network cut you short. Lucky, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry about that. Like I said, it's raining heavily here, and my network is a little bit messy. But can you all hear me? If you can hear me, just give me a thumbs up.
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay, good. I said about what we do in SABI groups. SABI groups have been pushing forward for the use case within the African markets. One of the key things we've established so far is having what the most listed blockchain-based exchange markets in the whole of Africa, of which of late we were able local Africans to be able to, from a local perspective. We've had cases where sometimes using some of the foreign-based platform outside Africa might lead to inaccessibility from the part of the foreign platform. We've seen cases whereby exchanges that are outside Africa sometimes restrict people from certain countries from accessing their platform. But what we decide to do is those people who, as a result of either sanctions from one quarter or the other, or maybe a particular platform outside Africa not wanting to serve those local markets in those places, we've been able to provide that. And that's one thing SABI have done, and therefore leading us to have what we call the SABI exchange under the SABI groups. Another thing we're doing is utilizing blockchain-based for record keeping, working with local schools and local institutions, local training centers, where their record keeping can easily be hashed on the blockchain. We were able to achieve that utilizing both the Ethereum and Tron blockchain base for record keeping, especially for school or academic records. That's one of the local things we're doing at this point in time. Another key thing we decided to go into is in terms of looking at mining-based service. I know some people might be like, is mining not a little bit obsolete? But what we decided to do is giving the people within Africa the opportunity to engage in cloud-based mining from a local perspective. We've had cases where, because they are all foreign, a lot of the platform are foreign-based, sometimes they're scared, they don't know if those people close shop, or they don't know how to access or reach them. Because we're local and we're coming from a local perspective, we just want to bring every of this technology back home to our people within Africa, and they can be sure that the technology, the services are coming from the perspective of a local person who understands the local terrain as well. So that's one key thing we've been able to do. And another thing we're working on looking towards is introducing what they call the SABI Pay, which is like a blockchain-based payment service, making it easy for people to pay or buy things around the world, but using our payment solution out there. That's one thing we've been able to do. It has been quite interesting for us as a company. It has been quite interesting looking at where we've come from, and my role as an individual. Me as a person, I've been able to do quite a lot of work, especially for government agencies across Africa, inclusive of central banks, inclusive of the Securities and Exchange Commission, inclusive of most deposit insurance corporation from a national perspective, across multiple countries scattered around Africa. I have also been able to gain quite a lot of experience from this perspective, seeing that one of the challenging or key things for them has been wanting to understand what the technology is all about and how best to catch up, because as of today, you're playing quite a lot of catch up. And that's one thing our company have been able to do from a local perspective. And I definitely look forward to doing other key things. As also an individual, I've been part of the core community or team member of Yen Finance 2, which is like a very popular thing right now when it comes to DeFi space as a person. And a lot of persons, I think, who know me or know about this asset now, especially via my social media. So let me just stop there. I don't know when the network will mess me up again, so I just don't talk too long. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much for that. Are you still with us, Daniel? Okay, Daniel is with us. Daniel, you've seen other people, the impact they are playing. So we look at DT Coin has always tried to market itself as different from other cryptocurrencies in the market. So can you elaborate on how DT Coin is different and what kind of problem it is solving?
Oh, thanks for your question. Basically, I built the DT Coin idea looking what's happening in cryptocurrencies world. Thank you. Looking at what's happening in cryptocurrencies world. If you can see, there are thousands of cryptocurrencies that have the same problem. The problem is that they don't have a real asset as a support for the value. The Bitcoin too have the value just based on the trust that people have in the market. And now the price of Bitcoin is $10,000 just because there is some people that is able to buy at $10,000. So DT Coin is for data coin. What I mean, I built a community that is using some technologies developed by my company about big data analysis and big data generation. And DTCoin is the coin dedicated to big data purchasing from other companies. As you can understand, it's mean that the value of the coin is not just based on the trust that people have in the market, but is based on the quantity of big data the community is generating every day, and based on how many companies need to buy big data, and they are using my coin to buy big data. In few words, that's it. So really, I'm trying to use big data as a real support for the value of DTCoin, data coin, because if you see, big data is a marketplace that is growing every day. And it's not like gold, silver, or petroleum, where is something that is ending in the world. Big data every day grow in quantity, in value, in marketplace, and every day people are generating new big data during their web navigation. So imagine a coin dedicated to big data. I think could be a coin where is no risk, because it's not dedicated to for speculation, like people is looking for cryptocurrencies. As you can understand, I'm against the use of cryptocurrency just for speculation, because I think that is the risk, and if you are not able to make the right trading, you can lose your money. So you can have a coin where there is an asset that is increasing the value every day, that support the coin. Basically, is this the idea? And I'm 4 years that I'm focusing on this project, and I'm building a community that every day is generating new data and is using DTCoin in a ecosystem named DT Circle, where are a lot of shops that is already accepting my coin to buy products, services, and other else, starting from Italy.
Thank you very much. Charity begins at home. We have really shed many lights on that particular topic. Let's see, we have many questions here. We have up to 10 questions from our audience. Let me look at some of these questions. Okay, somebody is asking, Lavina Ramkissin is asking, is there a unified Africa approach?
Okay, I think I should take that since I'm hearing the name Africa in it.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so today actually there is no unified African approach from the perspective of the context of the topic we're discussing today, especially when we try to align them with blockchain-based related solutions. But however, the African Free Trade Zone, or the AFCAS, we call it, as pushed forward by most presidents within Africa, where we're trying to see for much more unified African businesses or African trade, inclusive of especially more effort being put by the president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame. We've seen quite a lot of things. Unfortunately, my country have been one of they were a little bit behind initially when it comes to signing those agreements, even though people from our country were like one of the main key people that were pushing for it. For now, there is no unified solution right now, but the African Free Trade African Free Continental Trade Agreement is helping to push more for that. So I believe an adoption of blockchain technology from the African Free Continental Trade Agreement, from that angle, once done, I think it will be easier for us to say there is a unified African solution. Coming from the perspective of private, as well, we are actually working a little bit from silos and not necessarily from a unified perspective. However, it's a little bit like an open market, knowing fully well that these are all private companies. But from the governmental agreement, which was just barely signed a couple of months back, to help foster businesses across the 54 African countries, or 54 African countries, to do business very seamlessly. And I believe an inclusion of blockchain into that mix would most likely even make it much more superb. And statistics already have it that that would be like one of the biggest trade agreements ever in the history of humanity, for the fact that it covers around the 54 African free trade zone. Thank you.
Thank you. Lavina is still asking, are there best examples of best applied use cases with economic value or real tangible outputs or consequences?
Okay, I don't know. I think I might allow other speakers to answer, or I answer if that's fine.
It's open for anybody. Anyone can answer it. Mark, Daniel, Elisa, anyone can answer it.
I didn't actually hear the question. Who is this from? Could you just say which one it is again? What will be?
It's asking, are there best examples of best applied use cases with economic value or real tangible output or consequences?
I think it's hard to speak about best examples right now. It's easier probably to speak about best practices because you know who made the question, I think, wanted to actually look at the pros and cons of some applied, you know, some concrete application of what we've been ideally speaking about during this whole discussion. But since we're tackling international trade liberalization, I think it's still pretty early to look at, you know, fully developed examples. I don't know if you guys have any in mind. I mean, we're still at a time where we're exploring central bank cryptocurrencies, and we are still deciding how much we want to get into autarky, or how much we want to go back to the fully globalized, even a bit too much model that we had before the pandemics. So it's hard to look at concrete. I don't know if you have any concrete examples, guys.
Let me add a little bit to what you just said. Quite a good point. Again, to the person who asked if there are best examples of best where the use case are being applied with economic values or real tangible output or consequences, the answer is yes. The reason I'm speaking again from the African perspective, I believe he's also asking again because he's probably he was the person who asked the first question, or if I'm not mistaken. Yes, they are real use case. And what is a real use case as of today? The answer is the remittance. We've seen the use case of this technology from the perspective of remittance, from the perspective of doing business. Even as of today, or even still now, we've had a lot of countries within around the world that are having shortage of dollar supply. The reason being that either a poorly managed economy and all of those, and being able to transact or do businesses with other countries. Case in point, let me quote now. Nigeria during it's not like the pandemic is over. During this period of pandemic, or when the pandemic was at its peak, a little bit before now, we had instances where banks were shut down, and so many reviews were done to how much dollar we can spend on our credit card. Up to even $100 on an international platform. You can't do that anymore because of this. Utilizing cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, USD, Tether, We are seeing that a lot, and the number is so huge that it has provided an alternative means to still send money in and out of the country without having to wait for whenever there is a dollar availability. Of course, dollar availability from the central bank is augmenting what is available, but it's still not enough to meet the demand of the local people. It's still not enough to meet the demand of the local people. And because of this, I would rather align this more from the perspective of economic values, seeing that international remittance right now is like one of the key areas from the African perspective where people are using cryptocurrencies as a means or a way to go. So that for me is my take.
Thank you very much, Lucky. We know what is the situation on ground when it comes to remittance, most especially over here in Africa. What you really said is quite true. We have another question from Willa Wise. I say, what will be the impact on global scale, and how can other countries learn from USA and China competition in crypto dominance?
Listen, sorry. I have a flight in 2 hours. So is the problem with I close my connection here?
Okay, no problem. We are just answering questions. No problem.
I am very sorry, but I risk to lose the flight.
Thank you very much, Daniel, for joining us today. Thank you very much.
See you soon, everybody.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See you. So let's round up. We are rounding up with the questions. Somebody asking, what would be the impact on global scale, and how can other countries learn from USA and China competition in crypto dominance?
Again, let's say you want to start, or I take first. Okay. Just to also help the impact on the global scale and how other countries can learn from China, US competition. Well, I don't know if China and US are competing, but I guess it's a national or it's a psychological thing for everybody to think so, because they never said they're both competing from the perspective of blockchain or cryptocurrency adoption. However, one thing that everybody needs to learn, or every country needs to learn from them, is the fact that we could see that those countries that are a little bit ahead in terms of adopting this technology seems to be leading the pack on virtually all sides in technology. And that's a more reason why countries should not wait until when the US make the laws, or before some Chinese or the Chinese authority make the law before they could begin to adopt. We should see. I want to see where smaller countries, I use the word smaller countries from the perspective of economic size, can or take the lead. And being able to take the lead means putting them ahead of the pack, being able to put them ahead of every other person, countries that are out there. We shouldn't wait for until when the US make certain laws, when the SEC make a particular law before other countries will follow suit. We shouldn't wait for that. I think we can learn from them from the fact that they are willing to experiment, they are willing to try, they are willing to take the first step, they are willing to take the lead in all perspective. And I think that's what every other country should do without having to wait. Let everybody be key player in virtually one area or the other. In the case of DeFi, in the case of blockchain regulations, in the case of making their country one of the most receptive when it comes to the adoption of the technology. In the case of implementing blockchain for international trade, in the case of implementing the technology for international remittance. I think once this is done, it is generally to all countries, not just to China and the US.
Thank you very much. I don't think we will take any further questions. We are running out of time, so that we know some of our speakers are going out. So our time has elapsed. Thank you very much. It has been an amazing time with these amazing speakers. We've been talking about blockchain and cryptocurrencies, liberalizing international trade. So, and this program is brought to you by EMIT. So it's an interesting one, and we have amazing speakers who have helped us to talk about this. We have Eloisa Mokesoni, who is the co-founder and CEO of Blockchain Thank you, Eloisa, for joining us.
Okay, what I would also suggest, just to also help so that the audience don't think that they were shortchanged because the time did not permit us to virtually answer all the questions. I think we should keep the conversation going via virtually all speakers' social media handle, which I think we should provide for them. And virtually the rest of the questions that have not been answered, we should find a way to throw more lights to them. Continue the conversation on social media handle. If it is via Airmeet, if it is via LinkedIn, if it is via Twitter, we should try and connect with all the speakers, and we'll continue the conversation there, especially for questions that have not been answered. This way, we will not shortchange them in my own, just my own humble opinion.
Yes,
yep, already done that in the live chat.
Good idea.
That's a very nice one. So
Okay,
even after
let me
this, you
drop
can
my
continue discussions. There are tables where you can meet with the speakers and also the participants to ask them questions that you have, so that you can share ideas there. So thank you, Eloisa, for joining us today.
Thank you, guys, for having me here. And as Lucky was saying, I'll be glad to keep the conversation going on social media. You can reach me anywhere. And I was looking at some nice questions about ethics and supply chain. I'll be happy to talk about that, which are topics we haven't really explored.
Thank you very much. Daniel, he just left. Daniel Marinier, he is the founder at DTCoin. He just left. He joined us to talk about this amazing topic. We appreciate his presence. Also with us is Mark Swiko, who is the managing member, Globalist Capital Solutions. Mark, thank you very much.
No, thank you for having me. And Lee, thank you for probably the toughest job of them all, which is keeping us all together on the same page through the technology differences and all the different questions and answers. So thank you so much. It's a pleasure to meet you too as well, Lucky. I look forward to getting to know you a lot better. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, gracias. We also have Lucky Wakwe, who is the founder of Sabi Group. Thank you, Lucky, for joining us today.
It's a pleasure. Let me say namaste from here.
Thank you. I am the moderator, the CEO of Coin News Extra. So thank you very much. Thank you to the organizers, and thank you to our audience.
Thanks, Lee. Thanks, Lucky. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye. Yeah.